What's up, Magnetic Men Club? We are back here with another Friday Live for you guys. This week, we're actually kind of recovering a topic that we've covered in the past on, is marriage beneficial for men? Or is marriage more beneficial for men than it is women? Or is it more beneficial for women? I think we've always come from the stance and the point of view that it's definitely benefiting women more. But I've seen some statistics going around lately talking about how married men make more money, married men live longer, unmarried women are often happier than married women. And I just kind of wanted to cover some of those statistics and really kind of our take on it and why we think that is. I'm Chase. I've got my good friend Jared here.
Hey guys, Jared here. Hope you're coming up with an amazing weekend here. This is an interesting topic because there's two vastly different people here. I'm divorced. Chase is married. So I'm going to lean a lot on Chase because he is married. And even though his wife watches these videos, hopefully he gives us honest answers and not gets, although she's away for a little while with the kids. So you can give honest answers.
Right. Oh, yeah, she can't get me from here, right?
Can't get me from here. So I'm going to probably come from a different frame, being a non-married or divorce guy. But yeah, let's go through this. This is going to be
yeah.
My girlfriend's probably watching this too, so she's probably sharpening her knives right now. So.
Gonna catch you right when you get in the door, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just thought it was interesting because I know we've always kind of taken our personal stance on it, but I wanted to come from, okay, these are statistics, these are samples of data from 100,000 people here, 1,000 people there. This is stuff that people have just done studies on, research on, and they pulled these statistics and these numbers out. I don't want to say they're incorrect, but I really want to come from a frame of what is our general experience on this? Because obviously you've been married, you've been divorced. I've been married pretty much like more than half my life, and so I just wanted to touch on this a little bit. So really, what are your thoughts on married men make between 4% and 33% more money than single men?
Yeah, well, I guess for me, I'd have to see where that statistic came from, because are they lumping the marriage, the incomes together, and then all of a sudden he has more income? Like, I don't understand where did they get specific on it. But if they didn't, could I see that could be true? Yes. And the reason why is if you are in a marriage, and again, I'm coming from the frame that this is a job, not self-employed, because there is a difference to that. But
I agree. Absolutely.
Married men are, as far as climbing the corporate ladder, they're perceived as more stable, more trustworthy, more reliable than single men. So all things being equal, if Tom, who's married, and me, Jared, who's not married, we're both equally able to do this job, this raise, I would tend to think the other guy, John, or whatever name I used, is probably going to get the raise because he's married. He's more stable. That's where I'm thinking this is probably coming from. What about you?
I agree with that. Honestly, I think it really comes down to the individual. I think it really comes down to the individual circumstances. Obviously, I'm an entrepreneur, and so I see it a little bit differently than most other people. Like, I'm driven to make all of the money in my household so that my wife can take care of the kids and take care of the house and do what she needs to do, right? Like, I live traditionally. Definitely, we both cling to more traditional values in that sense. Yeah. I have seen, like, I did read more into that, and it did say things like that too, that, married men are perceived as more stable. Women tend to push their husbands more, and obviously that's subjective on the marriage too, because a toxic marriage is a toxic marriage. A toxic relationship is a toxic relationship. I don't think that you can pigeonhole this whole thing off a sample of data. Right. And so that's my opinion on it. I've seen this statistic all over the place, and I've seen it from multiple sources, and they say it's a well-established fact. I'm like, okay, well, maybe it is. In certain marriages, under certain circumstances, I can maybe agree with that. I can see it from the perspective that, married men are typically more stable. They're not going to leave. They're going to be there for a long time. They're usually grounded. They have roots, that kind of stuff. And what they're saying, too, is that their wives push them more to try and get more out of life, to try and do more a lot of the time, too. That was what the report had gone on to say, basically.
Yeah. I'd be interested in what if push means nag.
All right, right.
You know, the guys just want to get the F out of the house, so they work more hours and they make more.
And that
Maybe
could be
that's
too.
probably it. So, but I can see that coming from that statistic and on the why. That would be the only reason why. Now, self-employed, I can also see if I'm married and my wife, again, it doesn't say anything about kids, so it just says marriage. So I guess you got to pull kids out of this at this point. I can.
Yeah, we got a comment here from Dion too. He says, simply put, no. Even de facto is shit for men. Men love women and want to be with them, but the rules create massive imbalances on the exit, which inevitably 50% of them will fail at some point. That's facts too. That is another fact statistic for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, I get, and I appreciate the comment, but that's divorce. We're talking about marriage, so you could go from this way. If you're going to get married, make sure you vet the person properly so that you don't get divorced. There's a good one. Most people don't do that. And you're right. Marriage being all things equal, if a woman is college educated, there's a 70% likelihood that she'll initiate divorce. 70% of the time, women will initiate the divorce. So I get it. And this is the frame I come from. I was divorced. And it would be really hard pressed for me to get married again. Now, does that mean I wouldn't cohabitate with my girlfriend or move in? No. But marriage, just like the gentleman said, you have this barrel pointing at you from the state saying, well, yeah, congratulations on getting married. If you F up or she decides, I'm not interested in it anymore, the benefit is always on her. And that's where my problem with marriage is. It's not the fact that she doesn't want to get a divorce. It's the fact she has the option to get a divorce and use the courts against me. The option. That's what I don't like.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I would argue on this too. That's why I wanted to bring these statistics up, because I see so many women out there using this stuff against men. Like, no, marriage is better for men, this and that and that. This is why I wanted to bring this up, because I'm not arguing these things are correct or incorrect. What I'm saying is, I think that marriage is a huge risk for men. Like, I think that that's something that you have to really look at. Maybe it's beneficial and it could be long-term for sure. Yeah. But how beneficial, right? So, I mean, how much more money could you realistically make? It says between 4 and 33%. Okay, 4%. 4%, yeah, not so much. 33%, that's a massive difference. Yeah. But how many of those men are at the 33% mark? I think most of them are probably right around that 4% mark, if that. And so I think that that's kind of skewed. When they put that 33% in there, it's like, oh, 33% more, that's a lot. Right. Is it though? And how many of them are really doing that, right? At the same time, I feel like marriage is much riskier for men. Like, when you actually get into a marriage, you have to do much more to protect yourself as a man. It is not risky for women at all.
Right. And then, like you said, 4%, fucking inflation will trump that year over year. So who cares? Like, and that that really even shouldn't be a pro for marriage. Oh, you get married, you could make more money. Why don't you just work harder?
Right.
And
does it matter? Is it even worth it to you to actually live that lifestyle? Is that the life you really want to live? Like, do you really want to be tied down, or do you want to go play the field, go around the globe, man? Be about your money, right?
Right. And the other part of it, all right, great. You're making 33% more. Who the F do you think is going to get that 33%? You or your wife?
That's another thing too. How much more cost comes with being married? Now you got to buy 2 cars, you got to get a big house, all that kind of stuff too. How much is it costing you to actually be in that marriage? Sure, you're making more money. Maybe she has some side income, something along those lines too. Maybe she's taking care of the house, so you have more time to go work, that kind of stuff too. Great. But how much is that really making a difference in your life?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's a really good question.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
We did that video on the ask is free, the give always costs. And it always gives men typically have to be the givers. And in a marriage, 100% of the time, he has to give up a lot more just to be into that marriage. Now, there's a whole biology around this. We won't get into that because that's not specific to this video. But for all intents and purposes, the man has to give up way more to be in that marriage than a woman has to give up. And I've been in that situation. I did not like it. I've been divorced. I'm in a happy relationship now. And we've talked about this, and I've explained to her that there's under zero circumstances is marriage on the table. If she doesn't like that, and that's fine, you're free to leave. But could I live with her? Sure. Down the road, yeah, we could do something like that. But the marriage part, because of that optionality, they have the option to wreck your fucking life. That's what is a no-go for me.
That's true. You got to watch it, man. You got to educate yourself on this too. I think a lot of young men who are maybe like 15 to 18, they end up marrying their high school sweetheart. I mean, that was me, obviously, back in the day. I fell into that trap. I mean, at the end of the day, it worked out for me. I see a lot of people that it doesn't work out for, though. Like, I'm obviously on the marginal side of that. There's so many more that it doesn't work out for. And I think a lot of guys kind of fall into like, oh, this is the only one for me forever. And I think a lot of guys think that their high school sweetheart is going to stick with them for a long time. They get fooled by society and church and school. And it says, oh, well, you got to find a nice girl. You got to get married and that stuff too. And a lot of these guys end up getting married right out of high school. And they end up screwing themselves over. Most of those marriages, I guarantee you, fail.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing. Let's just assume they say 50% of all first-time marriages end in divorce. So let's just assume that's correct, right? So there's 100 marriages, 50 of those, boom, they're heading out for divorce. Now you have 50 left. What percentage of those people are just staying in the marriage until maybe the kids are 18, maybe they don't want to lose half their shit, and they're both sort of saying, hey, you go screw who you want, I'm going to go screw who I want. We're just going to pretend we're this happy couple. We're really not. What's that percentage? I'm willing to say maybe half of that 50%, so another 25%. I'm closer to that. 75% of people are effing lying. They're not freaking happy in their relationships. They're just not. And I can backtest this because most of the people that I've spoken with, talked to in my 48 years, very few are happy in their marriage. Now, I'm not making a value judgment against the people that are happy. They got it right. Congratulations. Or they just agreed to themselves that I'm not, that this is it. That's fine. But more often than not, most people are not happy in their marriage.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like, how much power did you give them just by being married? Just like Dion just said here too. He totally agreed with you on that point too. Like they have power over you. As soon as you get married, as soon as you enter into that contract, like you don't have any power in that. She has the power now.
Yeah.
And so the power dynamic completely shifts in her favor because the courts are going to back her up. Society is going to back her up.
Well, remember that too, Dion and Chase. So she's always going to have the power in the relationship, even if it's a long-term relationship, for the most part. But she has the added power of the state and the government behind her to fuck your life. That's where the true power comes in. So we're all saying the same thing. But if me and my girlfriend, let's just say, moved in together, and in 10 years, the power imbalance, she would still have more power. And we can get into the why on that. And that's just how it works. But she wouldn't have state power because we're not married. She wouldn't be able to say, well, I'm taking half of your shit. I'm like, good luck. We're not married. We're not in a common law state. Good luck with that.
Well, yeah, that's the thing too. I would also caution men that are going to get into a position like that. Like maybe you're not going to get married. Maybe she's just going to move in with you. Maybe she quits her job and she starts staying home, starts to take care of things more. In some states, that they consider you married. It doesn't matter if she goes out there. She hasn't been working for 10 years. She's just been sitting around. You guys aren't married. She needs to move now. Yeah. She can actually take you to court in some states, and you will have to pay her. You got to be careful. You really got to educate yourself on the state that you're in, what the laws are. You need to know these things before you decide to let anybody move in with you. Before you even get into that relationship. I mean, just keep it casual until you know what's up.
And look, I always say this to you, when we do contracts between all of our different vendors. Fences make great neighbors. If you are if you do want to get married, get a prenup. Even if you are poor, even if you don't have anything, great, then get a prenup to make her agree. Well, you don't get any of my nothing. That's perfect. What if you did get stuff? Well, then you have to update your prenup as your marriage evolves.
You got to keep re-signing the contract for sure.
You have to keep evolving on that prenup. And here's a funny thing. This is, I did this whole thing with, in order to be married, you have to have a reception. You get married, the priest or the justice of the peace, there's this whole ceremony, right? Prior to that, the woman's all giddy. She's jumping up and down with a high five and her girlfriend. She's all happy. She's blowing money. The average fucking wedding is $31,500. That's the average wedding. That wedding is not for her and it's not for you. It's to show off her being on her special day, meaning, hey, Beth from college. Hey, F you, Sarah, who used to make fun of me, in school. I'm married now. This is my husband. It's just this window thing that cost a crippling amount of money, $31,000 for one fucking day.
Well, the thing is, men don't care about that crap. Like, they don't care about the marriage, none of that shit. No, that doesn't matter to men.
They don't care about it. I remember my wedding day. I was happy, but I'm like, let's get this fucking thing over. I don't know your in-law. Like, I don't know my in-law's cousin from fucking Germany. I don't give a fuck. Okay, cool. Right. I'll talk to you for 15 seconds. I talk to my friends for 15 seconds. It's just a dog and pony show. That's all the whole thing.
I'm not kidding though. Like, I mean, you might see me in the picture. We're up there on the altar. Great, we got married. Most of the rest of the time, I'm sitting around with my friends. We're talking. We're having some beers. Whatever we're doing, like, I don't care. I don't even care about that whole day, what it all looks like, what the cake came out. I don't care about any of that crap. Why do I care? Men just don't care about that stuff. Right. It matters to a woman, though. They dream about this forever. Like, they dream about, like, their whole freaking childhood and stuff. Like, I'm going to get married someday. They show off the ring. They show off the engagement, all that stuff. Yeah. It's just this huge pageant show for them. And so it does matter to them more than it does for men. Like, I don't think that men inherently want to get married. I really don't. I mean, for me personally, and like in my general experience, most of the men that I've met in my life, I never knew one that really wanted to jump into a marriage, that really wanted to be there. Honestly, he did it because she wanted to do it.
Well, and this goes to the whole point I'm saying. Now you're talking about a social construct. Men are like, well, I don't need to be married, and women are like, that's just weird. You don't want to be married. But ask them why, and then they get all these other reasons. Oh, because you should. God says you should. Oh, because my parents were. All things external of why the fuck do you want to get married? And they can't answer it. They're like, you should just want to marry me. Why? We're happy the way everything is. Why ruin it with marriage? And most of the time,
it doesn't change anything.
It does not change anything. All it does, again, is give her another bullet in the chamber called the state. That's all it does.
It's a huge risk.
They can do all these studies, all the fuck they want. I want to know who's behind the studies, and I bet you it's a feminist in the fucking study or some weird ass magazine that's pushing marriage. That's
exactly where I was at with it. I was seeing this stuff go around in some of the communities that I'm involved in, and I'm like, okay, is that true? And so I started looking these statistics up. And when I pulled them up, I mean, I saw article after article after article citing, and then like it just, I'm okay. They're getting this stuff from sources for sure, but it's from samples of people. Like, you're talking sample data from Europe, sample data from Canada, sample data here, like tiny groups of people. Like, and then they're just saying, like, this is the way that it is, and it's like, okay, well, I want to talk about experience here for a minute.
Yeah, that's it's just an interesting concept. Now, so we talked about a little bit, the guys could make more money, and conceivably, yes, I will concede to that. Conceptually, yes.
Sure.
A man could make more money for the reasons we stated.
But is it marginally worth it?
Is it worth it would be
that would be my question there. Yeah.
Question.
And that's subjective. Like, you have to answer that for yourself. Is it worth it to you? Do you think those gains are worth it to you? Do you think it really matters? Or is that the reason why you're getting, because if that's the reason why you're getting married, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Because obviously you can make as much money as you want. That's subjective. That's on the individual. These are just statistics based on a large sample of people. Right. If you think you can make more money as a single man, you probably can. I'm not going to tell you can't. You most likely can. Just because this statistic is here doesn't mean it's true for you. It's just something that's out there as a sample data for a lot of people.
Yeah. And
so another one here is married women also make more than single women on average too. They said that gap also exists in women as well. And that's where we came back to. Is it because they came together and combined their income? Is it because he's now able to go work more? That's another thing I kind of wanted to stack on top of that too, is that they say that gap exists for both married men and women, basically.
So married women make more. That's what you're saying. So
that's what they're saying. Married women make more than single women.
I guess it would probably be the same logic. A married woman is probably viewed more stable, more reliable. I would also say if she is in a male-dominated industry, and the probability of, hey, she's hot, maybe she can have sex to get a raise. Like being married, they're just viewed higher. That's a married woman.
Right.
So same thing like a man, that's a married man. So yeah, I guess I could see together you could make more money just based off the fact that you're married. I could understand that, but again, is it worth it?
And that's the thing too. Does it come down to the fact that they're just married too? Like, is there other factors there? Like, does it matter where they live? Does it matter where they are? Like, are these guys usually like middle class, anything like that too? Because another thing I saw come up here was 86% of millionaires are married, and 65% of them are still in their first marriage.
Mm-hmm. And I can probably explain why on that a little bit more than the rest. And a lot of that goes to, it's really, there's a statistic out there that if a couple makes $250,000 or more per year, the likelihood of marriage drops something like 30% in their 20s, and it keeps dropping. And the reason why is half of their shit. It's kind of like they built this thing up. Whatever the company, they built themselves up, and they have an understanding. I know couples like this where it's like, listen, yeah, we're going to stay married, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Whatever you do on your business trips, I don't want to know about it. Whatever you do on your business trips, I don't want to know about it. You're not bringing home any kids.
No, I've seen it.
You're not bringing home any STDs. You're not bringing home any drama. It's not going to be on Facebook. As long as we don't embarrass each other, we're good. People who make a lot of money have these maybe uncomfortable conversations with their spouse. But again, if the man is high value enough, he can dictate different terms, or he can kick her to the curb and say, well, then leave.
See, I know a lot of millionaires, and like I just have a lot of my network. I mean, I grew up around them. That's who my stepdad is. He's got a whole network of these people. And so we've met a lot of these people. We have, I was actually talking about this with my stepdad the other day, and like he was talking about how a lot of his friends are in open relationships. And these guys are really successful people. They're millionaires. But they're in an open relationship, and like, well, you have to be really stable to be in an open relationship. They start saying and stuff too, and it's like, I don't know, man. It seems like you just kind of want to play the field, and you don't want your money to be messed with. I don't know. Maybe she could take half your money with her, and you guys are just kind of staying in the relationship just because
it's beneficial
to both of you. They are married. Yes,
they're married, but they're doing whatever.
But they're out doing other things. Yeah,
that does make a lot of sense being at that level, because look, if you're a woman and you marry, let's say he's got a lot of money, you entered into this relationship, you kind of got to understand that, he doesn't necessarily need you as much as you need him. Okay. He has more options, especially if he's very high value.
Exactly.
He can replace you. Women don't like to hear this. Women don't like to fucking like, oh my God, I'm irreplaceable. No, you're very replaceable. What you need to do is understand how not to be replaced, and how by not being replaced is really to be his piece, be a helper to him, be somebody he can lean on, be useful to him. Most women aren't fucking useful. I'm sorry to say it. They're not useful to their husbands. They're a net negative on them. And this is why the marriages fail for a lot of reasons. Now, I'm not bashing women, but what I'm saying, if you're a high value guy, if you're making a shit ton of money, it's not that he cares about the divorce, okay? Because he'll make the money up, and you'll make a lot of money off the divorce. But it's better if you guys both are educated enough to understand, listen, we're going to enter into this relationship. We're going to go on trips together. Once in a while, I'm going to go on a business trip without you. Whatever you do on that business trip, that's cool. It happens, and it happens a lot on higher income levels.
So much. Yeah.
Now, you can say, oh, my God, that's disgusting. I can't believe it. Yet they're the ones who are still married. So it's the lower income. It's the lower income, 250 and below. It's usually that 100, 150 and below. This is where you get those problems where the woman's like, I can't believe you cheated. Well, dude, you're a fucking guy. Okay.
But here's the thing, though. If you're a guy who makes like the average American, like $36,000 a year, or
Sure.
whatever it is, right? You're a guy who makes that much money. You're married to a girl. She's making a similar amount, 33
Right.
to 36,000 a year, and she's working. You're working,
Yeah.
and you decide to go play the field. Like, obviously, she's not going to be happy in that. You don't create any stability for her.
You
Like,
don't,
why
right.
would she want to even be in that situation? It's just a net negative for her. And so
It's
that's
worse
another
for-
big important point I want to make here is this is why, as men, it is your obligation to get out there and create the best you that you possibly can, because you absolutely have to be that best option if you want to have any power in the situation. You have no power if you are not that best option.
Right. Right. And here's the other statistic, and I'm sure you probably know this from a lot of your millionaire friends. Once you get to a certain level and you're always working and you're a little bit older, they don't really go out looking to get every piece of ass they can.
Oh, no.
They love their wives. They're like, listen, I just want to come home, make me a meal, let's have some sex, let's relax. Like it's not to that level. So there's certain rules that happen the higher up you get. And I know this for a fact.
Typically,
people have lived by different set of rules than other people in their marriage.
Exactly.
This is why their marriages last a shit ton longer, and they're probably a better quality. Even if on the face, even if they're lying, on paper it's a better quality because it's mutual destruction. They don't want that stigma of, oh my God, we have this amazing company, and now it's look at Amazon. Perfect example. He settled with her because she had the option, she had the probability of destroying that company. He had to settle with her, and he paid her a lot of money to actually get out of that. He's basically a simp. He's just a very rich simp. So, but he's smart. He paid her off.
I see that happen too, for sure. Yeah.
Oh my God.
For sure.
It's funny. She's like the second or third richest woman in the world, yet she doesn't have a job. So
nothing.
From her legs, from the middle of her legs. Yeah. That's how she got it. Come on.
Yep. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Anyway, I'll leave that alone. But as far as women making more money, it's probably the same logic as men making more money. And I get it. I wouldn't use that as a pro to be married at all.
I agree with that for sure. And like I said, I've seen that from these rich guys too. It's like a lot of the time I go to a lot of events with these guys. Like we go to marketing events, we go to retreats and that kind of stuff. These guys host events and stuff all the time. They invite me out. And when I see these guys there at these events, they're alone. Like they cut loose. Like they're loose. They don't care about what's going on. But when they go home, they're all about their work. They don't even care what's going on with their wife. Like most of the time she's at home drinking wine, sitting in a freaking hot tub. Like she doesn't even care.
Yeah.
And they're not even around her most of the time. A lot of the time they're just working constantly. Yeah. And then when they go to these retreats, man, they just lose.
Oh yeah.
They go for it for sure.
Yeah.
And I've seen that time and time again with multiple people. I've not seen this just in one place here, one place there. I've seen it from so many of them. Yeah. And there is a difference between people who don't make a lot of money and people who make a lot of money. So like the thing is, once you get into that bracket where you're making a lot of money and you're creating that stability, you're creating the life, she doesn't want to lose that. You don't want to lose that. Nobody wants to tear that up. It's kind of like mutually assured destruction between Russia and the U.S., right? Throughout the entire Cold War. Like, we know if we blow this up, like, we're going to fuck her all up. Everything's going to be fucked up, right? So let's just stick together for now. I know I don't like you. I know you don't like me. We don't got to spend any time together. It's not a problem. And I think that's where that 65% number comes in, where they stay married for sure.
Yeah.
But then there's the point, too, here that married men live longer than unmarried men, than single men. And unmarried women, as far as a new study they just came out with, live longer than married women.
Okay. So married men live longer than unmarried men. Sure. Because they're stuck at home, not having fun, not doing blow off a hooker's ass. Of course, they're going to live longer.
Right.
I'm just kidding, people watching this. I'm not, but I am. The point is, yeah, I mean, that makes more sense. He's at home probably eating better. She's probably regulating him like, hey, drink some water. Like, the honeydew list. Right. There's probably exercising. Of course, she's going to want to keep him healthy. A single guy, fuck, we could chain smoke Newports and drink vodka all day long. We're like, ugh, what the hell?
That's true.
I
Yeah.
mean, sure. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Of course, if you're with somebody who cares about you, she's going to cook for you, and you're
I
going
think
to want to be as healthy as you can for her. Of course, that
right.
makes sense. Sure.
Single men take more risks. That's really what it comes down to. Single
Yeah.
men are just so much more willing to go out there, spread their wings, go do more things, try more things, put themselves in more situations.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's stressful, sometimes it's not. At the same time, I decided to look further in that statistic there.
Yeah.
I really wanted to know more about it. I'm like, what do you mean? How much longer do these men live, right?
Yeah.
It's 1 year on average.
Yeah.
Married men live longer than single women. Same thing on the reverse side. Single women live typically 1 year longer than married women. It's like, okay, is that marginal difference we really want to go after? Because these guys are citing these statistics out there saying that this is facts. Women are happier outside of marriage. Marriage benefits men more. And I'm like, okay, I want to dig deeper in this. I need to know more about this stuff. And that's why I really wanted to talk about this stuff today, because I see this stuff going around a lot. And I just wanted to cover it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, all that, of course, makes sense. And like you said, a year, big deal. I mean, but of course, you got to remember, when they're doing these statistics, they're going to skew it in a way that's going to sell
Good point.
So they have an article to sell. They're going to sell it digitized on some other forum, of course. So they have to skew it in a way that's going to get their readers to read it. I could take
for the views
study and flip it the other way, of course. So I've never been really big into statistics and like, oh, okay, this happens. Like, oh, who cares? But yeah.
I think it all falls apart under scrutiny. This is why I see a lot of people throw this stuff up as this is facts. Look, we have the numbers to prove it. It's like, well, do you though? Because if I dig deeper into those numbers, I think it kind of falls apart. You don't have an argument to stand on.
Yeah. Well, look at, you know, every time I hear like the red pill forums. Now, am I red pilled? Yes. Am I overly red pilled? No. I mean, I understand what they're doing. I understand that it's, you know, for men to be their best selves. I get it all. But like one of their statistics, they say like women are hypergamous. Well, I just did a video. Well, men are hypergamous too, but just in a different way. And so it's another statistics. They throw out women are always looking for the bigger, better deal. Well, so are men. We're looking for the younger, hotter. It's the same thing, but we don't say that part. Just like these statistics don't say, oh, it's only a year. You're like, who gives a shit then? So,
and that's the thing, is they focus on the most controversial part of it. Like I've seen it too, like in like memes and stuff too, where they're talking about the framing of media, and like they're focused on this one thing, but they don't have the whole scene, right? Yeah. That's what you have to understand with these surveys. Like they're just simply surveying a small sample of people in one particular area of the world. Like things that are true for Americans are not true for Europeans. Things that are true for Europeans are not true for Canadians, are not true for Mexicans, are not true for Latin Americans, right? And so everybody, it's kind of subjective to where you live, your upbringing, what your culture and your society is, all that kind of stuff. This stuff is highly subjective stuff.
Yeah. What's the other one there? I think you were going to lean into another one. I cut you off.
Yeah. It's basically saying that single women are typically happier and healthier than married women.
Single women are happier and healthier.
Because I see this is a key point with feminism lately, and this is the stuff that they're sticking to. Women are living longer and making more money, and they're happier and healthier if they don't get married to a man.
Yeah, that I can say right now, 100% is a fucking lie. That whole thing, because if that was true, more women are on medications for various different mental health reasons than more men are. So right there, it falls on its face. More women are on, antipsychotic medications, depression medications, married or not. So you can't say, oh, well, more women who are single are happier. No, you lied on the survey. You're lying because your ego won't tell the person who's doing the survey,
that's right there. Yeah, you just mentioned it right there. It's ego. It's all ego, and especially for feminist women. Like it's all ego. They can't let their ego go. Like women have to be better than men. Men have to be the enemy.
Not even feminist. No woman can let her ego go. No woman I mean, you take your girlfriend and you walk into any restaurant and a younger, beautiful woman walks by, she automatically hates her for no reason. Why? Because she's the younger version of her. And now she becomes a threat when you're just sitting there having a meal with her. And they're all going to lie, oh my God.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, fuck, it's not. They're going to be like, look at that bitch. Oh, who the hell she thinks she is? Dude, that was you 10 years ago, 20 years ago. That was you. They recognize that and they hate it. The biggest thing women hate is the fact that they're getting older. They hate that.
Right.
Now, it's fine. Like my woman, she's 10 years, 12, 11, but 10 years younger than I. I'm 48. She's 38. Okay. Is there a 28-year-old version of her that's probably better looking at some point? Sure. Like you can't say it's not. Is there an 18-year-old version of her? Yeah. Is there a 38-year-old version of me that's better? Maybe not. I've changed a lot. We age differently, right? So the whole idea, So the whole idea of like they're single and they're happy is bullshit. They're not. No single woman is happy because all they do is bitch. I don't need a man, and then they play Whitney Houston. I'm every woman, and then they go high five their other single friends, and they get each other riled up like a bunch of stray cats, and nobody's fucking happy. Yet they pretend they are, and then they go home and drink their box wine and flick their bean until they go to bed.
Max.
This is what happens. And my girlfriend laughs at me all the time when I say it, but this is exactly what happens. So they have a choice. You can either go along with the relationship. If the relationship's jiving with you, then why break up? Oh, because we don't want to get married. That's a stupid reason to break up with somebody. It's a selfish reason. And I hear this all the time. So we're back to the marriage thing. Sometimes you're just better off being in the relationship and not ruining it with fucking marriage.
Yeah. Exactly. For sure.
The only time I think marriage warrants it if you have kids together, then I think you should be married because it does set a tone. It does set an example for the kids.
Well, and it keeps you together. Like I said, it's kind of like a mutually assured destruction kind of thing. It's definitely going to make you stronger. It's going to make marriage stronger for sure. Yeah,
it's a family unit. And I agree with that. But at no other point, my kids are older. She has kids, but I'm like, I'm not. What's the point? There's no point other than the fact you want to. That's not a logical argument to me.
So here's the thing, and like my take on this, after looking at all these statistics that I've actually pulled up here, and like actually going through this stuff, the conversations that I've gone through on this, I think there are real benefits to men being in a relationship with a woman. Like, I think there are real benefits to it. Like, she takes care of things in the household. She motivates him, energizes. It's not a toxic relationship. If she can kind of like move past that, they're a good match for each other. Because there's a lot of people who are just terrible for each other trying to be in a relationship and they shouldn't be. Yeah. But if they're good for each other, I think there are many benefits to being in a relationship for a man. And I've experienced this personally too. Like with my wife being up in Utah right now with her family, I've been having to take care of everything in the house for me and my son here. Like I'm sitting here, we're cooking all the meals. We're making sure the trash gets out. We're doing like, nobody's pushing us to do that stuff. We're just getting it done because we got to get it done. We got to clean the house. We got to take care of the pets, all that kind of stuff, right? I didn't realize how much my wife was taking care of. Like I didn't realize that, she's doing all the laundry. My laundry's always just clean. She's washing all the dishes, making sure the house is clean. The house smells good every time I walk into it. That's awesome. Like that energizes me, right? Now I can go out and do my thing and make sure that we have the foundation that we need to carry ourselves forward. I can just focus on my business and our money and doing what I have to do, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there are real benefits to being in a relationship for men. I think it's extremely risky to sign a paper that says we have to stay in that relationship for men. And I don't think that most men should sign that paper. I think in most cases, they really just should not sign that paper, especially if you haven't done your research. If you're getting married in a state where you haven't done your research on whether your prenup will even hold up or not after the marriage, this is stuff you've got to know. Do not get into a marriage. Do not sign any kind of paperwork. Do not even agree to it until you've done some extensive research. Go talk to a lawyer. Take them to lunch. Pick their brain, man. Like find out exactly what you need to know and what needs to be in place if that's something you're going to try and push yourself into. Because this is extremely risky. This is like entering into a 30-year mortgage, man. Like it's on that level. Like this thing could screw you over for the rest of your life, and you're not thinking about it. It's not a simple like. And everybody's always in the moment. They're so happy. They're just so ready to do it. They pay that $30,000 for the marriage, all that stuff too. You have no idea what you're entering into. Like this is one of the riskiest things you could possibly do in your life.
So, what you just mentioned, and maybe you misspoke, because now I'm like, wait a minute. So you were talking about your wife. She does a lot of the cooking, a lot of the cleaning, but she's away. Yeah. What if you weren't married? I mean, does that mean she is not going to cook and clean? Like you can still be in a relationship with a woman.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think there's real benefits to being in the relationship. I don't think there's really any benefits to actually being married. Honestly, I think that's what I'm saying.
Make sure, yeah, that's why I want to make sure maybe I misunderstood it. Yeah, relationship, sure. Absolutely. I think if you find the right woman and you vet her and the relationship is what I call win-win, that you're both.
It's got to be win-win.
To be, well, a lot of relationships are obviously the win-lose, or they become lose-win. Like there's this power struggle every time.
And it changes throughout, yeah.
When you get into this relationship, if it's always this power struggle, well, then that becomes toxic. So you want it win-win. But you don't, if you're having a win-win relationship, why add to it with a marriage? To me, that's where it's like, that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense.
You're adding something else to the mix that is working. And a lot of people, they just want the idea of being married. And I've heard all of the stories and all of the reasons, and none of them to me are valid enough to do it again. If they change the laws, then maybe. If they change the laws where the woman doesn't get this long shotgun with bird shot where she can just blast away, then maybe.
Well,
but they have the opportunity, and opportunity I do not like.
Think about it though, like 500 years ago, did people go to the courthouse to get married and that stuff? Like 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago? Yeah. And so that's the thing too. Is like
common law marriage, where it's actually most states now it doesn't exist. There's a couple left, and you literally can just go to the judge, and it's not recognized by the state. It's just recognized literally by God. Common law marriage. And I agree with that. Like we should go back to that, because if some women do want to get married and they don't care about the opportunity to fuck you over, they just want to get married. Well, you can't go to a judge anymore or to a priest anymore and just get married. He legally cannot do it without a certificate. It used to be able to through common law. Can't happen anymore. So now you're like, okay, well then we just live together. Well, back to the whole thing. Society starts morphing you into, well, no, you have to get married. Oh, no, you have to have a ceremony. You have to have flowers. You have to have a DJ. The wedding ring, the engagement ring should be 3 months' salary. And it's all of these shoulds, all these norms that need to happen.
Social constructs.
Just to get married. You have to have all of this, then you're married. And it's like, I've been through it all. And then even when I was going through it, I'm like, what the fuck is the point of all this? What in the fuck is the point?
Yeah.
And even then, my ex-wife, before she passed away, we talked about it. She goes, I don't know. I think we were just dumb and just kind of said, this is shit we had to do. But she didn't really, she was like, we could have done all this without being married. And our divorce could have been like real quick. Okay, you get this, I get this, we're done. So even she, after a while, was like, fuck, this is dumb.
That's the downside to it, too, is like if you've been married for like 10, 15, 20 years, you can't just simply go get that taken away. You can't just simply dissolve that. It's not like a company. You can't just sign a paper and dissolve it. Like you have to go through the rounds. Like lawyers are going to get involved.
Yeah.
As soon as lawyers get involved, as soon as the court's involved, it's out of your hands. Like you have no choice. It's just going to take you with it at that point.
Yeah,
and you just got to go with it. You have no choice. You have to just roll with it. Okay, I'm out of house. Okay, here's your alimony. Okay, child support. Okay, I don't get to see the kids. Cool. And most of these guys end up super depressed and just like at their wits' end. And a lot of them end up just offing it, and it happens so often. Yeah. And that's where we really need to nip this thing in the bud, is because like I think that even the offing rates would go down. I have to say offing because like obviously we can't say the word, but it would go down drastically if I think marriage wasn't a thing. Honestly, I really do. Because I think a lot of men, like even Rich Cooper talks about that. That's how his book starts. That's exactly how Robert Glover's book starts, and No More Mr. Nice Guy too. Like I think that it just happens so often that this is really not good for men. And so I think that the relationship is beneficial for men. I do not think that marriage benefits men in any way, shape, or form.
Right. Yep. I 100% agree. I stamp my approval on that. Boom. And it's a shame because it's just a programming that most people have. Like they don't stop and think, well, why? What is the point of this?
It's the unintentionality. That's like, yeah.
It's the young people because it does start young. And here's the other thing. I don't understand like two divorced people who've been through it. Why the fuck would you want to do it again? Yet they repeat the same problem. And again, I think it's because they don't ever ask the why. They just like the feeling of being married. Well, you can have that feeling if you just move in together and you're in a relationship. You just
it's an infatuation. Like it really is an infatuation. They're in love with the idea of being married, and it really has nothing to do with how it's beneficial or why we should do it. And so that's the big thing too, is like understanding that it's obviously subjective, but I really don't think that marriage benefits men in any way, shape, or form, because like you're really just opening yourself up to an enormous amount of risk. And what is the benefit? Like like from being in a relationship that's awesome, she's doing everything for you, you guys are taking care of each other, you guys are happy, to being married, like nothing changes except you just signed a paper now and you just took an enormous risk.
Right. Well, here's the thing too, because all right, a lot of guys can't dictate. They don't have a strong enough frame to dictate to their women, hey, I love you. We've been together 2 years, 3 years. We live together. You keep trying to force me to do something I don't want. They drop their frame and they appease her by saying, I do. Now, here's what happens. She's happy on the short term because she's like, I got what I want. But as that year or 2 or 3 into that marriage goes, she's going to think, what a pathetic fucking loser. He just gave me the ultimate. He just gives me whatever I want. I want to get married. She's going to start looking at you different because all these years you didn't want to get married. And all of a sudden I cry a little bit or I threaten to break up with you. This whole idea of happy wife, whoever wrote that is bullshit, fucking bullshit. It's happy man, happy man. My point is, well, you cut off.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to write that down and actually bring that up, because like that's exactly what they bring up too, like happy wife, happy life. I've heard that so many times from some of the older men in my life too, that they're just like, like you're a pushover, like you're just letting her walk all over you. Are you kidding me?
Well, so back to that though, because this is important for guys to understand. Then they get this thought of this is the only one. Oh my God, if I lose her, and they start to think, oh, she's going to get her back blown out by Chad in the bar. Who gives a fuck? Like, okay, if she's going to leave because you're not, everything else is perfect. If she's going to leave because you don't want to get married, or maybe at some point you do, but not on her terms, on your terms, whenever it is, because you're the one who's supposed to ask for her hand, not her demanding, when are you going to ask for my hand? They lose their frame and they just placate to her. Here's what you guys have to understand. If you have enough resources, meaning you're a high, maybe you're young, but you're
got to be high value
going in there. And she starts recognizing that, like, dude, I don't want to fuck with this guy too much because he can find better. He can find somebody else. Most guys fall in the trap. I can't find anyone else. And then they get married. You got to flip the script and be like, there's way less good men out there than there are good women. So we have our choice. So like Chase said early on, you have to be the best version of yourself in all realms. Your money right, your fitness right. You have to looks max, meaning you might be ugly, but make the best of your ugly. Look the best you can. Don't fall for the frame that, oh, she's the one. Oh my God. She's not the one, especially if she's putting a gun to your head, says you better marry me or I'm going to leave you. Bye, bitch. Okay, we're not going to play this effing game. It ain't going to happen. It goes to provisioning. If you're in a solid, healthy relationship, you've already agreed, I'm providing for you. I'm providing my time, my resources, my energy, my love, and my support. That's a marriage. Like I'm doing everything. I'm just not putting the state to give you a gun to put to my head. That's what I'm drawing the line on. And a good, high quality woman will understand that and say, okay, I do get it. The laws are really fucked. I might not ever do anything to him in the now, but when it happens, I have the option to fuck him over. That's what scares men, the option.
Well, see, here's the thing too. From what I've seen, like in our coaching program, as I've coached men through this stuff too, a lot of the time they've been in bad breakups. They're just trying to level up. A lot of the time they're going through divorces and they're just trying to level up or just survive, right?
Yeah.
They just need support because freaking divorce is scary, man. That's what we're talking about here. That's what we're trying to avoid. I'm trying to help you avoid that situation because I've seen so many men, especially in their 40s and 50s, who I talk to, who go through this stuff and it ruins their whole life, man. Like it gets to a point where they're like, what the fuck is the point of even living anymore? And I see them at the wit's end all the time. And I don't want you guys, I don't want this to happen to you guys. I want to help solve this, nip it in the bud before it even happens. There's no reason to sign that piece of paper. There's just not. At the end of the day, I mean, you do what you do. Just make sure you protect yourself and make sure you know what the laws are. Make sure you're very aware of what you're going to be dealing with there. So that's one thing that I would say. But it's up to you to really, just like Jared said, become the best version of yourself, looks max, like you get into the gym, get your money right. Be about your path and your purpose. Most men that I see come into this have no idea what they want. They have no idea what they want to do. They have no clue what they want to do for work. They have no clue where they're trying to go in life. They don't know who they want to be, what they're trying to become, none of that stuff. And the reason being, they've just kind of laid over and let life take them wherever it was going to take them. They've just been so unintentional. And so as soon as you start to get intentional, you start thinking about like, what's important to me? I value integrity. I value honesty. I value people who exude that stuff. I want people that I can rely on. You start to write these things down. You're like, okay, this stuff matters to me. And if I'm not paying attention to these things and the people around me, and if I'm not embodying these things, I'm not happy. Yeah. Once you have that map, dude, that's a map for your life. Like that, you can apply that to everybody. If they don't match the map, get the fuck out of here. You got to go. I can't be friends with you. You don't match my map. I can't be in a relationship with you. You don't match my map. Yep. And as soon as she gets in the way, like she'll try and get in the way of you in the map and put her head right here. No, look at me. Don't look at the map. No, get the fuck out of the way. This is my map. If you can't respect my map, you get the fuck out of here. You don't belong here.
Yeah. Yes. I'll tell you this story because it was a sad. This is a couple days ago. I got out of work late and I got some food at this local bar I go to. Just eating some food real quick. And this girl's sitting here, portly girl, like. Up in New York, most of them are fat. It's so bad up here. It really is. Like they just don't take care of themselves.
Midwestern diet, man.
So she's sitting here. We're just shooting the shit, and she's saying she's married, going through a divorce. I'm like, oh God, okay. Told her what I do, well, coaching, whatever. And I said, let me ask you a question. Why divorce? You have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. So 2 years ago, you must have been happy enough to have sex with him. Like you have a 6-year-old and 2-year-old. I'm just not happy. I look at it, what the fuck does that have to do with marriage? Like you entered into an agreement. He's the only one working. You just said you haven't worked in 6 years because you have kids. I didn't say this part. I said, you're overweight and ugly as fuck. Who do you think is going to grab you? I didn't say that part, but I'm like, what options do you have? And here's what she says. I'm going to take him for everything he has, and I'm going to make him work to sustain my lifestyle. As soon as I heard that, I was like, holy fuck. And she said it with a straight face, and she said it in a way that, like, I'll just get somebody else. And I'm like, the sad reality is some cuck will take that. Some cuck,
she just said,
some low-value man who's just happy to get laid will agree to these new terms, be a stepdad, let this poor guy go run through and work his ass off to provide for her and his 2 kids, plus now this new guy. Guys, you got to watch yourselves. You have to always ask, what is this the best I can do? And if it's the best you can do, if you're doing the best you can in your job, the best you can in your work, best you can in your relationships, everything. If you are truly the best version of yourself, don't settle for anything less than the woman you bring in your life.
And see, that's
And
the
I
thing
used to
too.
do
Yeah.
this. Oh, good.
It's incredibly fulfilling when you can actually find that too. Like the
Yeah.
problem is too is like 97% of girls are just like the one you just mentioned.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like they all think that stuff. It's all down underneath like the society tells them this stuff. It's not her that's thinking that. Like society has told her this, and so they all believe that deep
Yeah.
down. She just said the inside words out loud. That's all.
Yeah. She was drinking, so she was a little bit freer with
Yeah.
her mouth.
But
But you
yeah, at
gotta
the end of the day,
remember,
like she
guys.
has heard her whole life that she's beautiful. Like all these weak men out there telling her, like, "Oh no, honey, I don't care if you're a few pounds overweight. I'll do it." And it doesn't matter. Like women have this inflated importance
They do.
about them because of these weak men.
Yep, they do. And if you're a high value guy, if you're doing all the things, you know, you might not be the millionaire. You might not want to be a millionaire. That's fine. You might be fine making 120, 200 grand a year, whatever it is. You might be fine making 80 grand. Listen, 80 grand in the Midwest goes a long way too, depending on what area of the state you're in. The point is, if you're doing everything you can, you have a brand now. And I always teach you have a brand to protect. The woman in my life, she's more in the background because she's just not into this kind of stuff. But she knows, like, this is my brand. She doesn't post stupid shit, her in the bathroom in her fucking bikini, feeling cute,
Duck face.
because she knows I would immediately fucking block her. She knows it. But she's high enough value, so she knows, why would I do that anyway? Why would I want to do these things? And you need to find a woman like that. You need to find a woman who would question her own. Like, why would I? That's stupid. Why do I feel the need to do that? Where all these women feel the same need to do this shit.
You need a brand.
Do this, huh?
You need a brand that increases her brand.
Exactly.
If her brand comes up with your brand, you're in a good place. If her brand is taken down by your brand, then you're in the wrong place.
That's the thing. Her brand can never go down. If you're high value, her by default. A king can only make a queen. A queen cannot make a king. It doesn't work that way. So if you're high value and she loves you, you're automatically bringing her up to your level. That's how it works, guys. So if you want to ruin your brand, guys, get a low-level woman. If you're high level, and go back into the bar flies and do that. You don't want to do that. This is what men do. This is what they marry. Just because she's hot doesn't make her high value. Actually, a good-looking woman has nothing to do with high value, just like a good-looking guy has nothing to do with a man being high value. It's everything else. You need to understand, whoever you bring into your life, they need to go by your rules. If you're the one who is potentially a higher value, I'm not saying be a dictator, but I'm saying, listen, this is the frame that you're entering into. I'm not going into your fucking frame. That's just bullshit.
Yes.
If you think I'm going to go into your frame, we have a problem already. Stay in your frame, stay in your masculine frame. She'll love that because she knows I'm not fucking with this. I am not fucking with this. Here's the problem. She will keep testing you, and you have to keep solid. You have to keep respectful, of course, but stay in your frame. As soon as you enter her frame, you're fucking done. With or without marriage, you're completely done. She got you. She's like, checkmate. Thanks for playing. I'm on to the next. She's going to completely lose respect for you. Marriage does this way more than anything else, because by default of you saying, yes, marry me, shut the fuck up, don't leave me, you went into her frame. And now the state says, hey, guess what? You're in her frame. You did what she wants. I'm going to give her another bullet that can fuck you over whenever she decides, I'm not interested in this anymore.
Especially if there's kids.
Horrible decision, guys. Don't do it.
That's my recommendation too. I'm married, man. I'm still married to this day. I mean, I hope my marriage continues on for the next 30, 40 years. And we're in a good place. We obviously are. Me and my wife have it figured out. So it is what it is on that side. But like, if I could go back and do it over again, would I get married? No, absolutely. I would not get married again. I don't think it's beneficial to me at all. I'm not saying I wouldn't be with her, but I am saying I wouldn't get married to her again.
Right. Yeah. Just like my girlfriend, I'm not getting rid of her, but I'm certainly not going to marry her. It's not just her. It's anybody. It's like, so if your girl says that, oh, you don't want to marry me, like, bitch, I don't want to marry anybody. So just take you out of it. Quit being selfish. It's anybody.
Let's just be together. Yeah.
We're here. If you don't like it, cool, but it's not you. It's anybody. Not going to happen. That's all I got for this, because this one we could go on literally, like I could. I don't
Absolutely.
like to be salty around this because I do get passionate about this because I coach men a lot that are going through a divorce. And
Yep.
some of these men, they just have this mental fucking retardation and they
They've been
start dating
brainwashed.
another woman and they want to marry again. I'm like, dude,
Well,
what did we just do
for me, it comes down to like, have you ever questioned why you celebrate Christmas,
Yeah.
Easter? Like, they're religious holidays, sure. Like, but have you ever really questioned like, why do you and your family do Christmas every year?
Yeah.
Why do you do Halloween every single year? Like, why is that a tradition? Like, how does it matter to you? Have you really think about like, I mean, religious people take it seriously if they know why it matters, but there's so many people celebrating these things who have never really stopped to think about why they're celebrating. Like, we just always have. I don't know. We just always did. I just always did it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so that's what they'll tell you about marriage too. Like, marriage is no different. Like, you need to question it. Like, why does it matter? Why do you have to get married? And if your girl wants to get married, you need to question her big time too. Like, why do you want to get married? Why does it matter? What would it do for us? How do you think it would benefit us? Have that conversation. She'll fall apart. I promise you.
No. Interesting one. I appreciate you guys coming, tuning into this. If you have any questions, drop them down. Even when we post this on YouTube, leave a comment. Let us know if you have a question about this or an idea for a video you want us to talk about. Drop us a comment. Let us know. We're always looking to kind of go where our crowd is, per se. So if you have something, we'd love to hear from you. That's all I got for today. What about you?
Yeah, if you guys want to make sure you get into our school community and all that stuff too, we've got courses over there for you guys. We're happy to have the conversations over there. We can start threads on these things and really talk about these things in depth. We want as many men in there as we can get so that we can all grow together. We can all make sure that we're becoming the best versions of ourselves. That's what it's really all about. I'll make sure I'm in there each week for you guys for a Q&A call. Whatever we need to make work, whatever you guys need, let us know. We're here for you.
Guys, remember too, first 50, it's $7 for life. It's very minimal to invest in yourself. After that, it's going up. There is a ton of videos in there that I did personally on
Hours.
A whole host. Like 15 hours is like one course. For $7, you have access to that. Not counting the other tests and quizzes that I have in there. Not counting that. So $7, you can get in. It's for a lifetime. It'll never go up for you. After that, the price starts going up. So if you want to get in, the first 50 people, get into our school. The link is down below and sign up and enjoy all that information that you have. And we keep adding to it. Also, remember, this is the closest you're going to get to me or Chase that you can literally text in this app. The next way to get close to us or close to me is one-on-one coaching. And that's a lot more than $7 a month. I can tell you that. So this is a good entry-level way to start helping you. Whatever deficiencies you're in, you can look into the different topics that we have and start doing a deep dive in.
Yeah, love this topic. Absolutely, guys. We'll be back here on next Friday with another topic for you guys. If there's something specific you guys want us to cover, absolutely leave it below. Let us know if there's anything that we can help you guys cover for sure. If there's anything you guys actually want me to research, even if there's anything you want me to look into more, like that's something that I love doing. So like, don't hold back on it, guys. Let me know what you guys want to see. We're here for you guys. That's it for today.
Thanks, guys.